Welcome to the RotoWire DFS show. I'm Adam Zdroik, joined by Jordan Cooper and Ryan Belongia. We're talking Saturday's 6-game slate here. Last week it was 3 games and we made it an hour. So Jordan, 6 games. Are we going to be talking for 2 hours here?
No, we cut it in half. We'd only talk for half an hour.
Okay, cut in half. We go the other way. Okay, 30
Yes.
minutes of talk. Okay. I don't know if that'll be possible, but maybe we just let you talk for 30 straight minutes and we nod our heads and
isn't that my normal? The normal thing.
Yeah. Okay.
I think for GPPs
Go
this
ahead.
slate you could. Cash games I think is quite tough.
Yeah, it'll be interesting as we're looking here on the odds on the cheat sheet. RotoWire.com/soccer trial. It's a 48-hour trial. You're gonna want this cheat sheet here for this 6-game slate. The odds have changed a little bit. Earlier in the week, Newcastle were actually a bigger favorite than Manchester City. Now Manchester City are the biggest favorite on the slate at Wolverhampton. Again, pretty similar, though. Newcastle are home against Burnley. West Ham, also a pretty big favorite here, home against Sheffield United. Probably the easiest matchup on paper, you could argue. And then Arsenal are at Bournemouth and Manchester United. Home against Crystal Palace and Everton, home against Luton. Maybe just a silent game here that maybe not as many people will be looking at, but one that kind of caught my eye here when I first looked at the slate. Ryan, first off, how's it going? Did you play in any of the Carabao Cup games?
Yes. Sorry, it's tough to remember.
Yeah, we had a Manchester United Crystal Palace showdown, and these teams rematch on Saturday. So I played that one. I had Andre Onana captain in that one.
Who? Oh, United won that game, 1-0.
3-0.
3-0. Oh yeah. I remember that game. Okay.
Yeah, heavily
Nacho
rotated Crystal Palace.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, it's going good. I did play one of those slates. I think I doubled my money, I think, in the higher stakes. So it went okay. Anyway, this slate's interesting though. A 6-game slate where, I mean, the lowest total is 1.75 out of the 6. So, I mean, like you could target any of the 6 spots, pretty credibly, or, is it a spot where you just target Manchester City because the ownership's going to be diluted for once? I don't know. I think there's probably plenty of spots that are going to go overlooked. So it's a real interesting slate for tournaments. Cash games, yeah. Cash games might be tough. I mean, depending on who starts, it also might be pretty easy. I mean, I don't know what easy is the right word, but just to like cut to the chase. Yeah, I mean, it would be easy if you get Mason Mount to start for 3,300, which I kind of think he might. I mean, why not just play Alvarez, Foden, Ward-Prowse, Mason Mount, Trippier? Seems like a pretty good way to start. But yeah, we'll get into it. It's a big slate.
Jordan, Ryan said, let's cut to the chase here. So last couple weeks, at least last week, we had Erling Haaland. It's just like, okay, look at his goal odds, minus 225 to score. Now he's not under consideration for cash games unless he is. What's your first move in cash games here?
I mean, the guy that has the highest goal scoring odds is always in consideration for cash games. I mean, we had minus 225 to score, but I mean, it's a 6-game slate. We have tons of options. It's not a 3-game slate where, Manchester City is like by far above everyone else, and that's it. We have guys that we could play. We have midfielders that you want to play. We have, I mean, I don't particularly see cheap forwards with floors that are worth playing. I think I'm much more likely to still spend up at forward. The question comes in on, do you play Saka at 10-8? If he plays, he's questionable. With set piece duty on the road to Bournemouth. Do you play Haaland with goal scoring odds? You have McNeil at 8,800 for Everton with a share of set pieces there. But, I mean, the highest total on the slate is Man City. And Alvarez is 9,100 and Foden's 8,100. They split set pieces. They'll be attacking. I don't know. I mean, I take a look underneath them, and I don't see anything that I'm that comfortable with. to me, I mean, I think I'll play Alvarez and Foden over McNeil or Saka or Holland, just from a floor ceiling perspective, based on their pricing. It feels like Foden should be 9K and Alvarez should be 10K on this slate, and they're not. Is it just going to be that boring, Ryan?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I just don't understand these.
It's a 6-game slate where there are 6 favorites that are decently sized favorites. It makes I don't see a reason in cash games, at least, to spend salary on underdog players. So like Eze's there at 8K against Man United, which I'm fine with, but I'd much rather play, if I'm going to pay 8K, I'm going to pay 8K for a favored player, even if it's in another position. Like, that's why I included McNeil, but I'm not sure if he's the best option there also. But then you scroll down to the bottom of forward, and like, you're playing goal dependent guys. You're playing guys. I mean, you're stretching there. I mean, I'm assuming you're of the opinion, Ryan, that like you're not playing Holland cash.
No. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know why Alvarez and Foden are priced like that. So it just like, it makes it too easy in a way. You're right. They're both like 1,000 too cheap for sure. And yeah, there's just, even if Saka was 100% healthy, there's just no reason to do it because of the price tag. I think McNeil's a good play. You know, it just, cause it's a great matchup. McNeil's, you know, he's in consideration. You're right. There's no reason to play anybody from an underdog in cash games. So yeah, I mean, the pricing just makes it too easy to play Foden and Alvarez. I don't know. What do you think, Adam?
I think you guys are taking the easy way out and just saying Manchester City players. No, I mean,
go with instead.
I think McNeil is in play here. I mean, you look at it and it's like, okay, Alvarez, Foden, Manchester City, split set pieces. They should be more expensive. I mean, why is, Jared Bowen up here as well without set pieces? And I don't know. I'm just trying to find a reason of not to playing them. And I think Dwight McNeil may actually be in that spot. Home against Luton Town is one of the best matchups of the season. And you have, I think he has an exclusive set piece role. I don't even know if I'd say that Alvarez and Foden have more upside than Dwight McNeil. Maybe something we haven't. I don't know. Maybe Jordan will probably disagree with that. But I guess as I look at it, James Garner took some set pieces last week. But maybe you worry about that. Okay, so
I mean, seeing Garner took 3 and McNeil took 2 isn't a great feeling.
Yeah,
it's an even split. It's just an even split. One of them's right-footed, one of them's left-footed. But no, I wouldn't fault anyone if they showed up with McNeil in cash. And he does have upside in this spot, especially with the lineup that Everton rolls out these days. McNeil is more than just a guy that's going to whip in crosses. They need him to be shooting and
this isn't Burnley
doing
McNeil.
It all. No, with that lineup, he has more upside than maybe he used to.
Yeah, I would say, would it change your mind if, I don't think it's going to happen because Dan Juma started midweek, but if Dan Juma started over James Garner, would that actually lead you to playing more McNeil?
Well, I kind of just think Ashley Young would split sets with him then. But, it could, but I kind of think Ashley Young might just take Garner's role on set pieces.
Yeah, okay. We also have Easy E at 8K, though he's at Manchester United. Doku's sitting here at 8K, and I do think his floor is up there as well. I know you guys aren't going to look at that because he doesn't have set pieces, but he is in an intriguing spot. He was subbed off last week because of the Rodri red card. He was the first casualty there. Then he didn't start midweek, so I think he is an option to get 90. Though all these guys are kind of risks to being subbed off. There are options, but as you guys are saying, the Manchester City pieces are the easiest. So we're just trying to come up with reasons not to play them. But as you can see, it is kind of difficult. A couple cheaper guys I want to bring up here before giving it to Jordan again. Joelinton is down at 5,200, and there is a slight chance he plays in the front three because they do have the injury to Harvey Barnes. They do have injury issues with Callum Wilson and Alexander Isak. I guess I should mention there's a bunch of coach speak going on with press conferences. You see a lot of, questionable tags here in a lot of these players. Click on their profile, find out what's going on with them. But a lot of them could be, minor, maybe not even injuries, and they're good to go. And then some chances, maybe they are real injuries. We just don't know because they had these midweek matches that the managers didn't care about, and now they're obligated to talk about these minor knocks kind of thing. So that's the hard thing to bring up right now. But so Joelinton has a slight chance of playing in the front three there, home against Burnley, and he's only 5,200. And then Agbene for Luton Town, kind of listed as a 3-5-2, 5-3-2, but he played pretty forward in Luton Town's last match, and he's only 4,900. Just someone else to keep an eye on there. But Jordan, so you got the two Manchester City pieces, and that's kind of what you're doing here at forward, or is outside of like McNeil, is anything else coming into your thought process here?
I think there could be a situation where Arsenal could be in cash consideration. I think more in GPPs. We have Trossard out and Martinelli out, which means like you can have a front line of like Jesus, Nketiah, Saka, and like Nketiah and Jesus are fairly decently priced, 7,300, 6,000, a little bit more goal dependent. Jesus plays a little bit wider. Maybe he's a little bit more peripheral friendly. But Ryan, what's the case that Saka doesn't play either? Like,
yeah, that is possible. I'm glad you brought that up. Even with Saka playing, there's a chance Reece Nelson starts. But if Saka doesn't play, Reece Nelson is for sure going to start and for sure going to split set pieces. I mean,
set pieces with what Odegaard, I guess.
Yeah. Reece Nelson just takes them the same way that Martinelli and Trossard would. So yeah, 7,600, depending on what you see for the Arsenal lineup. I think that's okay. Actually, I thought he would be more expensive. And Nketiah, I thought Nketiah would be more expensive too. I mean, that he looks like a great tournament play.
Yeah, there's a lot of cheaper Arsenal guys outside of Saka, and I guess technically Martinelli here, who is out. So, yeah, I mean, so without Trossard and Martinelli, does that change?
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say, Vieira would probably split sets if he started. I saw we have him in there,
but he's questionable also.
Yeah, but yeah, just want he takes some corners too.
So what would so we don't have Martinelli, we don't have Trossard. What if Vieira also didn't start, but Saka started? Would this be Saka and Odegaard taking corners?
Yeah, that's a good question. Probably, right?
Yeah.
Assuming no Reece Nelson.
Yeah. It just just an interesting situation that, maybe we could get, and it might change. It may change a situation here. Maybe Saka could take more corners than we're expecting. Maybe not. So
it's possible.
I just don't think it's a good use of your salary to spend 10-8 for Saka when we have guys that are 2,000 or 3,000 cheaper that are similar. I mean, for GPP, sure, but I mean, you're gonna need your salary for some of these other positions. So like going from Alvarez to Saka is 1,700 and 2,700 for Foden. We're gonna get into midfield and defender. There's gonna be places that you'd rather spend that money. If I could fill, 9K, 8K forward, I think I'm much more likely in cash at least. But Saka, obviously, if he plays, I mean, set pieces, penalty duty. I mean, I think he'll be under-owned in GPP if he does start. And I mean, we'll get to GPPs, but I think Arsenal are one of my top targets for that format.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm scrolling down the list. There's not a ton here unless you wanted to go full punt. Ali McBurney here. I think Ali McBurney deserves a shout. Maybe not in cash games, of course, at 3,600. But I think this is an intriguing matchup for McBurney just to head in across, because West Ham are a team that don't play with a ton of possession. But I'll leave that shout for tournaments. So we kind of I mean, that's kind of it with forward. I mean, Jordan kind of just laid it out there. It's like, why are we paying for Saka when, you can save almost 2K on Alvarez and more than that on Foden. So why are we spending up? So because we need this money. So Bruno Fernandes, 9,900. James Ward-Prowse, 8,700. Those are the main ones here for midfield. So Jordan, you need to save money. Who is it going to be on? Are we back to JWP land, or is this a Bruno slate?
It's a JWP one for me. 8,700. He's playing as an attacking central midfielder for West Ham, taking a monopoly of set pieces, I believe. And West Ham has an over 2 implied goal total, which is probably going to be the highest they'll see this year. There's no better spot than home against Sheffield. I'd rather take that than, Bruno has a little bit tougher matchup. And depending on who's on the pitch, may not have a complete role over set pieces. I think Bruno's fine. Like, dude, I'd love to play Bruno. I'd love to play Bruno and James Ward-Prowse. Unfortunately, you can't, right? Unless you punt at a forward spot or punt double at defender. And I don't think that's the right construction. So, like, I'll take the $1,200 savings on James Ward-Prowse. He's plus 200 to score with the monopoly of set pieces at home for West Ham. Ryan, am I saying something that out of line that compared to these two? To me, for cash games, it's obvious.
Yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer, unfortunately. I don't know. I thought JWP was out of our lives, but he's back with a vengeance now in an attacking role. And I mean, scoring goals. And yeah, it's annoying. The matchup against Sheffield is about as good as it gets. I don't know how you don't play him. I mean, he has everything that Bruno has, and he's cheaper. And yeah, Bruno might not even take all the sets. I don't know. Got to play JWP. What do you think, Adam?
I'm just trying to think if he has everything that Bruno has.
Well, he has pens and direct free kicks. That's what I meant.
Right, he has everything that Bruno has.
He does have penalties.
He does have. I mean, he took the last one with when Ben Rama was out there. I don't know if Antonio was out there, but yeah, hard not to see JWP taking the pen.
Pedro Neto, 7,400. I mean, he's been unstoppable this season. Why not?
Yeah, not against City.
I'm not in cash games. I would not spend any decent amount of money on any of the underdogs.
Nope.
What if Ryan Giles started or Doughty started 6K range?
Nope. I don't see how you do it. I don't see how you justify it.
I'm not sure if you even are able to even get in that range anyway. Like that 5K, 6K range, like Garner's
maybe in the
there.
flex.
Yeah, maybe James Garner. Okay.
The question is, are we going back to $4,700 Mateus Nunes?
Yeah, I thought about it. Maybe, but I think you just have to click 3,300 Mount if he starts.
But I'm assuming Mount doesn't start.
Okay, so if Mount doesn't start, then I think you probably just click 3,200 Amrabat for 100 cheaper. Even if he starts at left back, he's 3,200. I mean, why not? I mean, what Nunes? I'm not sure. With Rodri not in there, I'm not sure what to think of Nunes. He might be asked to do some more defending.
Okay, so I'll go through some options here. So you mentioned Nunez. Kai Havertz could start if Fabio Vieira is out, and then he could actually go 90 if Vieira is actually out. He's 4,300. Kovacic is back as well. Another Manchester City piece. He's 4,300. And then getting into the players you guys were talking about. So Mount went 45 minutes last week. He's coming back from a muscle injury. I know his price here. Okay, he's so cheap, and he'll have some set pieces. Is it just because he's down here that even though he's maybe a max of 60 minutes, you're fine with playing Mount down here?
Yeah, I would love to fade Mount, but it's just his 3,300 because he's playing. It's a max of 60 minutes, pretty much. But yeah, I just saw him take the corners midweek. He got an assist from a corner. I mean, you obviously have to play that for 3,300 in cash games if he's going to take corners. I think at least.
What happens if Hannibal? What happens if Hannibal? I can't pronounce Medjbri.
Yeah, Hannibal.
4,700
like that's where I don't know. Now you have to compare him to Nunez, and he's gonna. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
But you agree that this is the range that we're looking in. We're looking in.
Yeah,
one or two people compare them to defenders in that range.
I mean, this is maybe where you play. Right. I mean, maybe you play Lewis Cook. I don't know. He's 3,600 taking set pieces and played 90 last time. Taking set pieces over Tav. I mean, you're probably in this range, so I don't know. You could do worse than that.
Jack brought up in the comments here, Ogbene is 200 more than Nunez. If you're in that range and you had the money, would you go Ogbene over Nunez?
Maybe. Wait, did he take any set pieces or no?
No, Dottie and Giles both did.
I don't think he did. He just had
I guess it doesn't matter. Yeah, if he's gonna it's a decent spot for Luton too. I mean, right? Yeah. So yeah, I don't mind that. I don't know. I don't think it's very clear who the best one of these players is.
Which is typically true when we get down to that range of 3K, 4K guys. It's like, do you play one of these midfielders over a center back or a garbage fullback? I typically side with the player that has a better upside.
So, okay, I do too. Or if the price is like a big enough difference, I mean, why don't we just play 3,200 Amrabat,
Right. It depends on the I mean, that's what I'm saying. Nunez to Amrabat is $1,500, so that matters a lot. But if I had to choose between 4K guys, I'd rather take a 4K attack. If you said that you'd rather take Ogbene than a defensive midfielder or some guy that may come out at 60 minutes, it's Ogbene could score. I mean, he's an attacking winger, so sure, it's they're a dog, but they're the best underdog, right? They're the least of an underdog. So yeah, I could see that if it's the last piece, but it's quite possible I'm not even in that range anyway, right? Quite possible 4,900 is still too much.
What if Dottie nor Giles started? We had this recently where Amari Bell played wingback, Kabore played wingback. Tahith Chong is 3,400. I know some sharps actually played him in cash games recently. He would, I think, be on at least a split set piece role, and without Lakanga in there, maybe more guaranteed to get more minutes. 3,400, he's in play then.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. They were unfortunate to lose Lakanga. I think Chong's a pretty good player, so yeah, I don't mind that.
But if either Giles or Doughty start, you wouldn't go that route.
Oh, it's 3,400. What's the worst that could happen? I mean, at least he's an attacker.
I mean, he's not really an attacker, though.
Well, he's more of an attacker than Nakamba.
Right, and Lakanga even.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of taking the spot of Lakanga in the lineup. They're not going to have two attacking midfielders.
Right.
So, someone has to sit back. And I don't think it's going to be Ogbene.
No, but, Lakanga was, 2 shots and 4 crosses from that role last week. So, I mean, it's more forward than Nakamba, and especially with 5 at the back, that those guys get involved.
Yeah, from set pieces as well, probably.
Chong used to be more attacking when he played with Man United. He's got it in him.
Yeah, I mean, he was good with Birmingham City last season.
Yep.
Can't remember his numbers, but he did play in a more attacking role. But I think it's just more of a kind of what their lineup looks like. They have a few injuries, so...
You're right, though. Those 3 attackers that would be ahead of him, Ogbene, Morris, and Brown.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of JWP and then go down and pick your poison kind of a thing.
Pretty much.
Unless we're missing something else here. All right, I'll do, since you guys like Mount so much, I'll plug in Mount. So let's talk about that a little bit here. So this Manchester United situation, we could see next to Casemiro in the midfield. We could see Eriksen. We could see McTominay. We could technically see Amrabat, and then someone else would play left back. I don't actually know because they have so many injuries. It would be probably a non-defender unless I'm missing something there. Does it matter if Mount plays as a defensive midfielder next to Casemiro, or like maybe Mount's in the spot of Hannibal on the right wing kind of thing? Does any of that matter? And then, okay, what if Antony is, because apparently Antony's back in training. What if he's back on the bench? Does that positioning matter at all if you're selecting? We're not really talking about Eriksen here, but just in terms of Mount, does that matter at all? Or just because it's split set role, it doesn't matter?
I think he's just too cheap for it to matter, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely matters for tournaments, whether or not I'd click him in a tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Can we calm Jack down in the chat here about Ogbeni? They played half that game up a man and chasing in like the best environment for floor points ever. So let's see what happens next time.
To be fair to Luton Town and for all the Hatters fans, Luton Town did dominate the first half of that match as well. So,
I was the only one to play Jacob Brown, and I think he had 5 shots in the first half. Literally, I was the only one. He was 4,600. Everybody clicked on the. No, sorry, in the high stakes. Sorry, I meant.
I played.
Sorry. Yeah. But me, Jordan and I should have won. That was a great play, and it just.
I got Morris, Brown. I didn't have enough. The weird thing is I didn't have enough Dottie.
I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun slate. So
defender, can we just get it over with? You're playing.
Oh, it's that easy?
You're at 7,500. Like aren't you like, to me, my cash lineup, I'm looking at my cash lineup right now, and it's like it starts with Alvarez, Foden, Ward-Prowse, Trippier, and then you figure average remaining player salary is 4,150. And then if you want to debate the differences between Amrabat and Tahith Chong, good luck. Go for it. But I mean, to me, that's what you're doing at that point. Is the question, Ryan, is Trippier going to be in just all of your lineups regardless at 7,500? I mean, at the defender position, I mean, he's like one of the few people that you have to roster 2 defenders, and he puts up 22 points. You're going to be way ahead of everyone else, because how are you going to make those points up?
I agree. I mean, the matchup's just too good. How does he? His floor is so high in this spot.
It's a revenge game, right? Technically.
I didn't even think of that. It is.
Right.
It is technically.
It's a long. I mean, dude, we played him when he was on Burnley.
That was the origin, of Trippier. Yeah.
Right. He's going right back to where it started.
Yeah, I don't see how you. I agree. I don't see how you don't play him. I mean, if I was gonna fade him, it would have to be for other defenders who can score 15 points. I mean, it would have to be for in tournaments. I mean, it would have to be for Soufal, for Emerson, for plenty of guys. It wouldn't be for a center back, I guess, is what I'm saying.
I'll say for tournaments, if Sandro Tonali started, would that take you off of him at all, Ryan?
Well, I don't know if it necessarily matters who starts, but I just think you can obviously get a different construction without Trippier. Like, I don't know, if you can get a couple expensive guys to smash, maybe these cheap punts do nothing. And like, if maybe you can get an edge that way, if the cheap punts score 5 points, and maybe you can get up to 5K or 6K and get a goal from a forward at that price, like, that you'd have to do something like that.
Or is it one of the types of games where Trippier puts up 13 fantasy points and you have defenders that have like 6 or 7, but you use the 7,500 on a guy that's scored a brace at midfield or at forward?
That could happen.
Right. But if Trippier puts up like 25 points, like, it's going to be
right.
Like, you could have that 25 points in your midfield spot and not your defender spot. But then what the hell do you have in your defender spots in order for that to happen? I don't think, if Trippier scores 25 and and you're sitting there with 4 and 5.5 out of your defender spots, I don't see you winning a GPP.
No, you're right. But yeah, if Trippier scores 13, maybe you play Rafael Varane instead for 2,700 and he gets a clean sheet and finishes with 7 or 8. Then you can do some things.
Yeah, my original question was with that is that Tonali is in play to steal a corner or two, a set piece or two. And
I saw Gordon actually steal a set piece 2 games ago, which was surprising. So yeah, that's a fair point.
It does kind of seem like he's not getting as forward when certain players are playing. Maybe Tonali has something to do with that. I mean, you look at his game logs and his numbers are worse. His numbers aren't as high when Tonali plays. So that being the case, Tonali did start midweek. So I don't know if I bank on that. So who is your second defender, Jordan? Or did no one stand out to you?
I mean, there's really not much that stands out. I guess
Joachim Anderson?
No, it's not Joachim Anderson. Zinchenko, I guess. Zinchenko, Gvardiol. Like, is it worth paying 4K for these guys? Maybe. Or maybe it's just you go down and you take Varane at 2,700. Like take the cheapest guy on a favored team that's a center back. It all depends on who you're able to get in your flex spot. Like I wouldn't do that with 3 defend. I don't feel this is a 3 defender slate. So it's like you're playing Trippier as your 1 defender. You're paying as low down as possible for the second defender, just so you can get a utility guy in like the 5-6K range, rather than like get stuck in that and have Lewis Cook in your flex. Also, like that's how I see it. I don't know, Ryan. Is there anything worth paying 4K for at defender alongside Trippier?
Maybe. Because if you play Varane, I think he's fine. But then, you end up with 5 or 6K in the flex. And no one really stands out there either. I think the West Ham guys are okay. I don't know. Yeah, I think either West Ham guy is okay. And even in the flex, I mean, who are you going to, are these 4K guys that we mentioned, Nunez, whoever, Ogbeni? I mean, are they really better than West Ham fullbacks under 5K and just like a dream
matchup spot? You're right. You're right.
So I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. Do you go Varane and then you have money for the flex around 6K or so?
And goalkeeper.
It's a tough decision, but I think the West Ham guys are decent.
And I think at goalkeeper, I mean, if you're doing like a 2v2 type of thing, typically the concept for goalkeeper is that the larger the slate, you should be more inclined to pay down. The smaller the slate, the more inclined to pay up. It's just we mentioned this on the Champions League podcast all the time, is that when there's more teams, that means one of these cheap keepers typically gets enough points that it's worthwhile, and the ownership is spread out enough that like no keeper is going to just bury you because they're 60% owning your cash games. So that's why, home keeper, Neto, Bournemouth against Arsenal seems like, typically the home keeper, the best. But don't play Varane for the sake of I could go up a keeper. You mentioned with the flex spot, it's more of if there's no $5,500 guy worth playing in your flex, don't go down and then go up at goalkeeper to have Varane in your defender spot. Play an Emerson, play a Zinchenko, a White, one of these guys in that 4K range that are, I think they're all okay, right? Or even if you go up to Soufal at 4,900, I'm in agreement with you. But even if it's the Man United guys, at least they have paths to 10 points. Some of the guys even cheaper really, really don't.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with all that.
I was just going to add for defender, instead of the West Ham guys, I think there is a range in the utility spot that you'll have to decide, if you want one of those West Ham fullbacks or pay up in that 5K range for your second defender. Like if Giles starts, if Doughty starts, and James Garner's 5,800, I think those guys are there to where it's like, okay, do you want a cheaper defender as your second defender and plug in James Garner in your utility, or do you want Soufal and then one of those random midfielders that we talked about for who knows how long? But I mean, I guess you can actually do, if you really like West Ham, you can do Soufal and Emerson together. And
That's my cash lineup right now.
Sorry, Ryan.
I mean, it leaves 4,100 for the other keeper that I was going to mention.
Kaminsky, all right.
Yeah, obviously Neto's fine too, but I might choose Kaminsky over Neto.
There's Ryan's lineup.
But you're right. No, but what you said, you're right.
I mean, my lineup looks not much different than that, other than like, maybe you play Zinchenko over Emerson, and you play Emerson.
Yeah.
I mean, like
I don't love Emerson.
You're choosing between those 2v2, 3v3s. Everything else in your lineup is kind of like, do you want to play, if Mount's not in, do you play Amrabat? Do you play Tahith Chong? Do you play Nunez instead of Kufal? Do you play, like, it's going to come down to those decisions, which is like the margins are going to be this thin. But to me, that is as of right now, based on starting 11s predicted, I mean, that should be the proper construction for cash games. It shouldn't be Benny in the forward spot and you're playing for Ward-Prowse and Bruno and Trippier, and like, you're not doing the dinky do or anything. You're not paying up a goalkeeper. Like, it should be this type of construction.
Right. I agree. Yeah. Maybe, like Adam said, maybe you get up to Doughty or Garner if you like that. Garner did pretty well. Garner did pretty well last game taking sets.
I'll ask for a 2v2 here. Well, in terms of Garner, I looked up their heat maps from last game. He actually got up the field more than Dwight McNeil did. I'm not sure what that means, but he did play more forward on the right side than McNeil did on the left side. Maybe something to do with Ashley Young playing behind him. Not sure. But 2v2, James Garner and Kurt Zuma, or Emerson and Soufal?
I'll take
Jordan
Emerson and Soufal.
Yeah.
Zuma's floor is just way too low.
Probably, right? Yeah. I think Garner's a decent option, but I just wouldn't want to play Zuma.
You already got JWP in there. Sheffield United just allowed 8 goals to the tallest team in the league because they're terrible against set pieces. Kurt Zuma, set piece maestro.
Well, now you're talking about GPPs.
No, this is cash games.
Well, you're explaining something that's great for a GPP line. And West Ham is a team that I'm targeting in GPPs.
But wouldn't you rather want the upside of James Garner rather than Soufal and Emerson?
No, in cash you want the floors.
Adam, maybe better 2v2. Varane and Vieira.
That sounds disgusting.
No? Okay.
Vieira may be fine if Saka doesn't play, but I don't.
Vieira on sets is what I'm saying.
6,400.
No, it's too much. But like, if you're comparing him to Garner at that point, I don't know.
Well, I think Garner's more likely for 90 is
probably, but I think Vieira is fine. It's just from what it seems like, I don't even know if he has an injury.
Yeah, that one we don't know.
Yeah, Arteta's being funny about the injuries.
Yeah, Mikel Arteta and Eddie Howe just were not making me happy.
But I mean, what I mean is, look at this game against Everton in 80 minutes when he'd split corners and took 4 shots. He's kind of sneaky.
Oh, now you want to target Everton. You didn't.
No. No, I meant Vieira. I was talking about Vieira.
I got it. All right, Jordan. So you already mentioned Arsenal are going to be your GPP route. So do you care at all about injuries? Do you care at all about substitutions? You mentioned Jesus. You mentioned Nketiah. What's the play here? Just go.
Stack them up, baby?
Stack them. All of them. All the front 3 for Arsenal. Just go off all of them.
Yeah,
with Saka in there. Okay.
Why not? Totally. You play Zinchenko. You could play any of these guys. I think they're underpriced, other than Saka, right? I think you play Odegaard. I think you could play mix and match.
Jorginho, 4K PKs.
I guess maybe. I mean, you could throw that in if you want. I mean, I think from an ownership standpoint, it's not. I mean, I'd rather not have a road favorite than a home favorite, but I mean, Bournemouth aren't good, so why not? From a price perspective, and then same thing I could say for West Ham. Like Antonio's pretty cheap. Paqueta, kind of cheap. I mean, Souček, Emerson, Kufal, Zuma, right? You mentioned Zuma. I think Bowen is the overpriced one. His ownership is probably going to be low, but I mean, dude, you could play. I mean, if you take a look at these prices, I mean, Antonio is 5,500. Paqueta is 6,200, and Ward-Prowse is 8,700. I mean, like, then you have $4,100 and $4,300, 49, 40. I mean, you could play. Maybe you don't play 5 of these guys, but from a price perspective, I mean, West Ham could go out and win this game 4-0.
6 West Ham players.
They score enough goals, that could be fine. At 6-game slate, I'm less inclined to put that many players in. But, I mean, Ward-Prowse is going to be popular. You pair Ward-Prowse, and if he gets, some assists and stuff, find the guys that he gets assists to. Or you could play it as leverage if Ward-Prowse is going to be popular. Ward-Prowse sitting there with 8 points because, Paqueta and Antonio and Soufal and Emerson have assists. You could do that.
Ryan, what do you think about West Ham? I think they're an interesting team to look at on the slate.
Yeah, I'll just say that in everything that Jordan said is my GPP strategy for this slate. I won't touch on it again, but he said what I'm going to do in that whole spiel for the most part. So yeah, I agree with all that. Other spots. Yeah. I was going to pretty much say a lot of that. Other spots. I think Højlund is interesting. 6,700 just because nobody's going to play him. Probably even less so than those other spots.
I mean, I think a good option if you do like, for instance, the West Ham route without James Ward-Prowse, you put Bruno in that lineup. Like that's the because the Ward-Prowse lineups are less likely to have Bruno. So you do a lineup like I'm kind of working on it right here. Like let's say you played Antonio. You played Antonio at forward alongside with Paqueta and maybe Emerson, something like that. And then you play Højlund with Bruno, right? You're still plenty of money for Trippier in that lineup. You're $49.50 for goalkeeper and utility. I mean that sounds good to me. Playing Bruno Højlund combination with the West Ham thing, and just to hope that Ward-Prowse isn't the one that gets on the score sheet.
Reasonable. We haven't really talked about Haaland yet here. How popular do we think Haaland's going to be?
I think he's going to be owned. He's going to be owned in GPP just because Foden and Alvarez are. So you have to think in terms of correlation. Like the more that other players from the team are going to be rostered, you get certain situations. You have to balance the two. Sometimes you're in a position where everyone's playing this guy, so no one's playing the other guy on the same team. But when multiple people on the same team are going to be rostered more, it typically carries with I think people that play Alvarez or Foden in the lineup are much more likely to pair them with Haaland. I think that the odd man out is Doku. Like Doku is the type of person where you'd play solo and just go, he's the one that's going to eat the production from Alvarez and the ceiling, at least, from Alvarez, Foden, and Haaland. I also think that maybe you could play Haaland by himself, and just hope that it's not correlated to Alvarez or Foden. But I mean, to me, that the guy on the slate that's going to go much lower owned and has the second highest goal scoring odds, assuming that he plays, is Callum Wilson. And he's tied to Trippier's ceiling. And although Trippier is going to be owned, I think Callum Wilson, I think people, if they have a choice, you look on the slate, just from normal people, You look on the slate and you go, oh, okay, do I play Erling Haaland at 10-4 or Callum Wilson at 10-1? I think the fantasy point per game, it's like, 24.3 versus 11. Not realizing that this is one of the best spots for Newcastle the entire season. I think Haaland ends up being at least twice as owned as Callum Wilson. And if I think they're just as likely to score a ton of points regardless. These Newcastle players are a little overpriced, but once you factor in the matchup, maybe they should be the same prices as the Man City guys. I mean, like Anthony Gordon and Almiron. I'm not sure about stacking Newcastle because of their pricing, but if you plug in your lineups with some value pieces and you're like, oh, well, this is the places where I could put Alvarez and Foden, put Callum Wilson and Anthony Gordon in. And I just think this Newcastle ownership outside of Trippier is going to be quite low.
Are people going to play Anthony Gordon?
I don't think so.
What do you think, Adam?
You want to play?
Almiron is obviously leveraged. Nobody's going to play Almiron. I agree with everything Jordan said about Wilson, but I don't know. What do you think about Anthony Gordon?
I think outside of Manchester City and maybe like Saka, there's just going to be players who aren't going to be popular and
fall through the cracks, right?
Well, Gordon is just like the same price as like Ward-Prowse. Bruno's there that people may want to play. The Man City guys, I just see these this range with the Newcastle players. I could easily see not. I mean, you could say the same for Dwight McNeil. I think it's possible that Dwight McNeil is more owned than Anthony Gordon or Almiron, even though that from a ceiling perspective, I would prefer the Newcastle players.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I like Anthony Gordon. I think Anthony Gordon's a good player.
I think Rashford will be more owned than Anthony Gordon. He's 9K.
Yeah, I think it's turning around pretty quickly for Anthony Gordon in Newcastle. You know, he struggled when he got there. There was a lot of stuff that went on with that transfer, but he's sort of taken over that team. It looks like it's gonna become Gordon's team in a way. I think he's a pretty good play.
Yeah, he's just like a hard worker that I don't know.
He's also very skilled and good at scoring goals. So
yeah, it's a completely different situation than last season. It's almost like when he was at Everton, but he doesn't have set pieces.
He's really turned it around fast.
He's basically over the offseason, he's turned into a regular player. And I think that's the important part here to take note of, as Miguel Almiron has kind of lost his spot, as he's maybe not lost his spot, but he's, going every other with Jacob Murphy kind of thing, where Anthony Gordon, Harvey Barnes just picked up like a 3-month injury. So, the options behind him in the starting 11 aren't many. So he's going to be playing a bunch. And then you have the injuries to Isak and Wilson as well. That's why I mentioned the Joelinton possibility for the front three, something to just keep an eye on. Because I mean, if those injuries are real, there's a technical chance that Anthony Gordon is actually like a false 9 in this spot. Joelinton moves up to the left wing where he played last season. Just these lineup things that some people may not notice, but
if Wilson is out and not even on the bench, I'd play Isak at 7,100, no problem.
Well, I'm saying if Isak doesn't start either, because he also has a calf issue.
Yep. Just makes the team even cheaper. I mean, they have the second highest implied goal total.
I think there's just so many players on the slate that aren't going to be popular that I'm not sure how much it matters just to target non-popular players to win GPPs.
How do you think you'll win?
Everyone's going to have a different lineup, though. That's kind of
at least you mix them in. Don't start. My cash lineup starts Foden, Alvarez, Ward-Prowse, Trippier. My GPP lineups won't have those guys. That it's quite possible outside of Trippier that the other 3 players I may not have in any of the lineups at all, because there's just as many good players in those spots for those prices at those positions.
I think it's important to note when you say that's for bigger GPPs, because you can still do the, build off your cash lineup in like single entries. And
I mean, you can. I tend to make the approach in soccer that since ceilings are I mean, I could get bailed out on. I mean, it's very similar to what I do in King of the Pitch, which, I mean, Ryan's done. Ryan's won. I've come in second 1 year. I've come in third 1 year. I'd rather be combinatorically different at positions where I can be, and I'll take the 4. Like Morris last week was barely owned, and for Luton, like these are guys that could score. If I could get a guy that could score 2 goals reasonably for single digit ownership, and you're going to tell me that there's multiple of them on the slate, dude, I'll play 3 of them together and just like, okay, if one of them scores 2 goals, it makes up for every. I mean, like it just because it's just so low owned in comparison to their ceiling on these types of slates that yes, I'll still have Trippier. I'll still have the floor. I may still have Ward-Prowse in that lineup, but I'm not someone that's like I'm going to play the same 4 guys and buy my cash lineup. But instead of playing Emerson, I'm going to play Zuma, and instead of playing Tahith Chong, I play some other $3,200 guy that is 3% owned. It's like, no, if I'm going to pay for goal scoring. I'm going to play for ceiling. I want Ward-Prowse to score 16 points, and then my guy scores 28 and bombs that position out at that price. So, like, yes, there's some floor considerations for GPPs, but you don't want to get stuck in the similar construction that you're playing in double ups.
Yeah, I agree, Jordan. I think Jordan nailed it on these bigger slates.
I like the bigger slate. That's why I like the bigger slates more, because these 3-game slates, it's very tough to find 4% owned guys that can score 2 goals, because
especially that point of I really agree with. I mean, I think you can do it both ways, but I really agree with that point of showing up with 3 sub 10% forwards. And it's like I don't know, just like show up with Højlund, Beto, and Nketiah as your 3 forwards. I mean, yeah.
And then pair them together. Like what you could do, typically what I would do, like what were the 3 that you mentioned?
Højlund, Beto, and Nketiah.
Right. So Nketiah you could pair with like Zinchenko at defender. Right. Højlund you could pair with Bruno, because you have money to spend. Right. You could spend Beto with Garner, and you play Trippier in the defender spot, and there you go.
Right. Or throw Antonio in there, and then add in.
I mean,
Bowen,
you're still playing guys like the subsidiary cheaper value guys are guys that you would consider for your cash lineup, but their ceilings are tied to these other guys scoring goals, rather than doing the opposite way of like, I'm going to just try to jam in Bruno, Ward-Prowse, and the highest floor midfielder and Saka, and then I'll try to find a 4K goal. It's like it's much harder to find 4K goals out of defensive midfielders than it is to find 2 goals out of a 5,500 or 6,000 forward that's going to play 75 plus minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan, what's your read on this Arsenal match? How many goals do you think Arsenal are going to score?
It depends on the lineup. I think they really struggled without Declan in there. I've seen some stuff that maybe he's fine, but they don't have Partey either. I mean, it's a much different team without Declan and Partey.
You're saying if Declan starts, easy 3-goal win. If he doesn't start, maybe a little iffy.
Yeah, kind of actually. Yeah, that is kind of what I'm saying.
So if Declan Rice does not start, you're not going to be playing any Arsenal players in tournaments.
No, that's not true. Eddie's just too cheap. 6K center forward, and I'm a big fan of his. I think he's got real potential. And 6K, it's a good matchup. So probably play him no matter what.
Is there one matchup that you favor over the rest to attack here?
West Ham.
Okay, you guys are both on West Ham, huh?
There's a lot of good spots, but Sheffield against Newcastle last week. I mean, it was a complete embarrassment. I don't know. It was like the Dolphins against the Broncos when they put up 70 points on them the other day. I don't know.
How many times does when a team get blown out by 8 goals, they get blown out by 8 goals again in the following week?
Yeah, you're right. This game finishes 0-0, 1-0. Stuff happens all the time, for sure. If this was West Ham from last year, I'd more so beyond that. They're a team that also seems to have turned a corner with James Ward-Prowse. I like a lot of their players. So, yeah, I don't know.
Jordan, what else do you got to say?
Nothing. I mean, what else is there?
We didn't really touch on goalkeeper too much. You have a favorite goalkeeper? Whoever fits. You're just paying down, and whoever fits in your lineup.
I think in cash games you're probably playing either Neto or Kaminsky. I'm assuming you're going to be in that range.
You're not looking.
There is no middle range. I mean, look at goalkeeper. There is no middle range. I mean, like you're going to go from Johnstone at 4,200 up to Onana at 5,300. So there's there's no goalkeepers in between there. So either you're paying up or you're paying down. If you told me that you're going to go and you're going to play, Burnley's keeper or Sod, dude, we've seen the guy that gives up the most goals also have the most points at goalkeeper. Welcome to especially on 6-game slates. Welcome. Well, Man City could score 4 goals and the opposing keeper has 16 points. I mean, that's what soccer DFS is. So I think there's no reason to necessarily pay up unless you like your lineup and you have 5,300 left and just that's where Onana goes. And
yeah, I mean, Adam might be able to pay up since he's spending down on Ali McBurney, right?
If I told you guys that West Ham, Manchester City, and Newcastle all got clean sheets, would you play any of those goalkeepers?
Sure. Why wouldn't
sure?
Yeah.
Thank you for telling me. See, the problem is by paying up a keeper is that you don't know which ones get clean sheets. Like if we knew that, then sure, I'll play the cheapest one out of those 3.
Maybe okay. Adam, maybe not in. I mean, yeah, probably, but maybe not in the big GPP. I don't know.
Well, it's just always like this Manchester City situation. I know Ederson is kind of like another level because he doesn't really get saves. And, he's always in play to just, not make any saves and not really get there. But these other guys tend to make more saves. Pope is a save-making goalkeeper. So he kind of I think he kind of fits in like a different level. Same with Areola, just at like a different level than Ederson, even though, Manchester City have better clean sheet odds. Actually, Everton have the best clean sheet odds in the slate now that I'm looking at it. So
are you comfortable with the $5,400 in your lineup? I'm not.
No, that's incredible. Okay.
I can't even believe those odds.
Yeah, that stood out to me. Yeah, just in the implied goal total in that one is 2.59. Jordan, you mentioned Dwight McNeil will be more popular than some of these cheaper forwards. Is it just because split set piece role kind of a thing? I mean,
yeah, I'm not saying he's
people
going to be very
care?
popular.
Okay.
He's not going to be very popular. Just it'll be more than maybe the Newcastle guys. That may be more than some of these other goal dependent guys that people feel comfortable playing Dwight McNeil, so they play Dwight McNeil.
Yeah, is it just
Adam? I wasn't
name?
really. Yeah. I mean, people will play McNeil. No, I wasn't really joking about McBurney. Is he scoring? He'd go good in West Ham stacks. Are you playing him in your king of the pitch lineup?
I'm not going to reveal this information.
Okay.
I haven't decided yet, but
okay.
This is a bounce back spot for Sheffield United.
He's not because he doesn't have the ball. He'll play him in the $5 single entry.
Well, that's the one to play him in, though. You don't play him in a 23-man competition. You play him in the $5.
No, you play him for his brace, so you win the thing no matter what happens.
All right.
3,600. Like, dude, no offense. If you played him in utility slot at 3,600 over Lewis Cook, I think that's actually fine because, play him in the spot.
Fine. I think that's a great move.
Right.
Fine.
Because you don't want to play some dude that's going to get give me my 5 or 6 points. Get a guy that could actually put up a decent score in the right spots or give you 2 points in that spot. But I wouldn't stack up defenders and midfielders and just play McBurney and some other cheap forward. Those are the lineups I'd be avoiding.
I'll say I'm more likely to play McBurney if Edson Alvarez does not start and Said Benrahma starts instead. I know Jordan, you think I'm crazy for that, but that just makes West Ham more attacking. Edson Alvarez, full on defensive midfielder. In that situation, James Ward-Prowse would move back. Not really.
That's what we hope happens. That's what we hope happens. We want JWP to be back in defense.
No, I want him in attacking midfield.
Oh, I don't. Okay. I guess I do if I was going to play him, but yeah.
I will say, I don't know. I maybe I'm kind of going back on it, but just the fact that you guys are saying McNeil is going to be kind of popular because of his name, kind of a thing. But just with the low implied goal total here, 2.59, this Everton Luton Town match, I think this game is actually more likely than any other to finish like 3-2. And
just otherwise, Adam, that's literally what the odds say.
I know. This is my personal thoughts here. This is why we're on a podcast.
Okay, is that on the cheat sheet somewhere? Is Adam's personal odds somewhere? Should I change this 2.59 to just like 6?
Well, right. What's the point of the show if all we do is read off odds and tell everyone to play the favorites?
Game is, Adam. That's what we do.
That's not what we do. That's not why we're here. Ryan White here.
Zuma, okay, so basically something that's not on the cheat sheet is Kurt Zuma is scoring a goal. Jack is going to make Benny happen again, right? And Everton Luton Town is at least 8 goals combined in that game. And McNeil has 47 points.
I'm saying I think that, we're talking about, Rashfords and Hannibals and Hoylands and like Decore. Like Everton are home against Luton Town.
Pay 7,300 for Decore at midfield?
Decore should have had a brace last week. He's playing in a forward role, and this is a great spot, and he's going to be sub 5%. Like, why is a 20%, I don't know, Rashford or one of these Manchester United guys better against?
Not going to be 20%. I'll play Gabriel Jesus at 8% over that. Give it to me.
All right, fine. Decore is going to be 2%.
Oh, okay. Now it goes even like Decore is going to be only in your lineup, 0.01%. Like, yeah.
No one's going to play him.
That's not a reason to play him just because no one's going to play him. No one's going to play a lot of guys in this league.
And the reason to play him is it's one of the best matchups of the season, though. And no one's going to play him because it's an overlook. People are going to overlook this game because it's Everton and Luton Town. They're going to see
it's the lowest total on the slate. That's why they're going to overlook it.
Yeah, and 90% of the time, that's wrong.
We got 5 of the games that have big totals. What are you doing? Okay, is it a possibility? Yes, but I don't think this is going to be low owned enough to spend up money. I could play Beto. Sure, I could see that. Fill a forward spot. Play Tarkowski for some header goal or something. I'm not playing.
Adam, I think at $5K,
$7,300 Decore in my lineup.
I think at $5K would make all the sense in the world. I think for 7,300, you're starting to think about braces. Like you're playing guys to score braces. So like what a Decore goal, what I mean is like, it doesn't even necessarily do that much for you once they're up to 7,300. It does a lot at 5K. But
why can't Decore score a brace?
Okay, well, there you go. If he's got a brace in him, then there you go.
I was saying he should have had one at Brentford. Now he's home against Luton Town. Why can't he do the same against Luton Town?
No, he could. He could.
We're just assuming, okay, any of these Manchester United guys, they can score a brace because they're Manchester United. Are Manchester United that good?
More so because they're like forwards. And
why can't Mario Lemina for Wolves score a brace? He can.
See, you're just making stupid comments. Decore plays forward. He gets shots every game. He's in front of the box every game.
Why can't Will Hughes score a brace?
All right. RotoWire.com/soccer trial, 48-hour trial. Ryan, you got anything else here?
I don't think so, man. We covered a lot.
You can find Ryan at Ryan Belongia on Twitter. Jordan is at Blender HD. I am at RotoZdroik. You can also follow on Twitter. That's right. That's at RotoWire Soccer. Actually, it was last week. We hit 1K over the weekend. So thank you for everyone for subscribing to the YouTube channel. Chan's asking me how many hours of sleep I'm riding on. Not many. But thank you everyone for watching this. Good luck on this slate. We got 6 games, so we can expect a busy Discord in the next 24 hours. RotoWire.com/chat. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Ryan. See everyone next week.
Good luck, everybody.